The clock is ticking. Fantasy GMs, the time is running out to make an ad to take your team over the top on the latest edition of your daily source for fantasy hockey. Monday waiver wire episode special. All of the must-add targets that you need for the upcoming week. New faces in new places, baby. Let's tap in and get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday, hockey fanatics, fantasy gurus, and all of our degenerate gambling faithful. Welcome back inside the lab to your daily 30-minute source for fantasy hockey. It's a Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast. I'm joined, as always, by my distinguished co-host, Mr. Steele Roden, on the side of the microphone. You know what it is. It's your boy, Big Flip Livingstone, here for the Everydayers salute, shout out, much love. We appreciate you for making us your first listen every single day. We are now into crunch time, Steele. It's official. Trade deadline is done. All the rosters are set, and there is some fantasy value to be had. I've got a number of players here. It was almost like Christmas because there are a lot of opportunities that, are they all going to pan out? They might not, but some of them might be the difference maker for your team. So I've got a lot of kind of obvious targets. I've got some honorable mentions. I've got some more under the radar guys. What I'm trying to say is, Steele, I got y'all covered today. Deep formats, shallow formats, whatever you need. Big Flips here. Steele, who you looking at? I'm excited for today's episode.
Well, let's start with the Chicago Blackhawks because I know you and I have a few players from this team right now, and obviously one of the lower tier teams in the National Hockey League. But there's still some fantasy value, and like Flip said, the playoffs are right around the corner. I've actually been in two different fantasy hockey playoffs as of right now. I actually won my first week matchup in the postseason, 12-1-1. So I got to throw a shout out to myself right there in my keeper league. But Chicago Blackhawks, I've got two players from this team right now. Spencer Knight, who we've already talked about over the course of a week since the trade with the Florida Panthers. Back-to-back wins, one against the LA Kings, and then a 4-3 overtime win against the Utah Hockey Club. I think from here on out, from the two games that he's played and the two games Soderblom has played, or Mrazek, he's been the clear-cut goaltender to ride with for the Blackhawks, at least for the rest of the season, in my opinion. I think he's going to get a very good run out in the last 18 games of the season. 3 games for the Chicago Blackhawks, Colorado Avalanche, San Jose Sharks, and the Vancouver Canucks. And then also Ryan Donato, who's rostered at 42%. Spencer Knight rostered at 30%. But Ryan Donato at 42% right now on Yahoo Fantasy Leagues. He's been balling of late. He's got an 8-game point streak, 18 points in his last 13 games. He is firing the puck. He's doing everything you really need from a guy right now in Chicago when they're not getting much. Even Connor Bedard's been struggling offensively, not scoring goals. It's really been coming from Ryan Donato. So I like what his game is right now. 23 goals, 25 points for 48 points total in 62 games, 139 shots. He throws his weight around a little bit. So I really like those two players. A little bit of a tough schedule, but you also got the San Jose Sharks in the mix too.
Got to dig into the trenches. I believe it's actually been Arvid Soderblom splitting starts with Spencer Knight. However, that second line has actually been producing, Steel, in Chicago. Teravainen, Mikheyev, and Donato. So you're going to have to get nitty-gritty. I mentioned Donato last week. I love it. I actually have seen some pretty good hockey from the Chicago Blackhawks over their last 3 games. Small sample size, but they're scoring goals. Jump on it while it's hot and then fade them. There is a situation here, Steele, that I think is being overlooked considering all of the hoopla, shenanigan-like attention that has gone to Mikko Rantanen. You and I think, need to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs a little bit, perhaps on tomorrow's episode, Marner, how they're playing and otherwise. So I'll leave the Leafs alone because they obviously were also in on Rantanen. But Logan Stankoven here is going to have a really good opportunity, I think, to perhaps establish himself fully as a regular NHL contributor. And I know we've seen flashes from this kid over the course of his 83 games in the NHL, 29 points this season, but he's been buried on a very good Dallas Stars team. And I know he got some looks, but let's be realistic, Steele. 14 minutes career ice time, that's not nearly enough for this kid who was a star at every level he's been at. So let me just spit this out. The Carolina Hurricanes Tough week, Lightning, Red Wings, and Flyers. But for me, this is an add and hold because next week, Steele, Sharks, Kings, Ducks, Preds, Habs. He's 66 on Fantrax, 21 on Yahoo, 12 on ESPN, and I'll finish with this. He's on the top line. He's on the top power play unit, and that right there equals must add for me, and I wouldn't be surprised with a little bit of fire in his belly because Dallas has moved on from him that you see this kid go off for Carolina.
He has to be mentioned, and I'm not going to go as far as saying he's going to pop off in the last 18 to 20 games, but he's getting a really good opportunity with Sebastian Aho and Svechnikov on the top line, on the top power play unit. He's a very skilled player. I like that you're bringing him up because he's going to get plenty of opportunity in Carolina with this organization. He's going to be with them in the playoffs as well. So really good pick to showcase him in that trade for Rantanen. This is a very deep cut. This is if you need some help on for me. Again, looking at guys that have a good schedule coming up and are always going to be available right now. Braden Schneider of the New York Rangers. I think you can look at a couple of different players on the blue line from New York. Will Borg, Keandre Miller, Braden Schneider. I like it. Highlighting him right now. Again, not going to jump off the page offensively. Been a perennial 10 to 20 point player. He's got 14 points in 63 games. But if you need some help in the peripheral categories, plus 5, 119 blocks, 109 hits, just looking at some of those defensemen, kind of like a Racco Gudis who don't jump off the page offensively, but peripherally they produce on a nightly basis. And that's what he does. He always gets at least two or three blocks, 2 or 3 hits, at least one goal every single night. So if he's not scoring, at least he's producing and contributing in some other way. So just wanted to highlight one of those deeper cut blue liners. You can look across the league for a lot of teams who have 4 games this upcoming week and find those guys. You know, we've mentioned Jackson Lacombe. Anaheim Ducks have 4 games this week.
Oh, yeah.
Him as well.
I love the deep cut, Steele, and at this point in the season, throwing out some ones that are catching our eye. You and I watch far too much hockey. There is always going to be some value here in these episodes that we throw down on Monday. Try and keep it short and sweet for y'all. 30 minutes in and out every single day, keeping you up to date on everything that you need to help your team, help your bets, and keep you in the know in the NHL news. The rest of the week, Steele and I will continue to break down all of the fantasy fallout out of the NHL trade deadline because there is still going to be some line shuffling, what players capitalize where, lots to break down. One more player before we get to break. I'm excited to get to bets. I don't say this often, Steele, but I am feeling very confident with my picks tonight, so I hope I didn't just pooch myself. But let me go back to the Blackhawks quick because this is a quick, also deeper cut. Alex Vlasic is a kid that is red hot right now, 8 points in his last 8 games. He is going to eat a ton of minutes with Seth Jones out of the lineup. Again, it's the Chicago Blackhawks, buyer beware. 40% on Fantrax, 12 on Yahoo, 31 on ESPN. Steele, I don't know if you've seen much of this kid because I'm just kind of late to the party here, and I know deeper fantasy cats have been on him because there's some value in this kid. He throws some hits around sometimes, block shots, 119 this season. This kid can skate, and now he's going to really see an uptick in minutes. 23 minutes now in ice time on average and up over the last few games, up to 25 minutes last time. It's not sexy, but I really like this kid's game. And in deeper formats, you might not have a ton of blue line options. Vlasic, I really like him, even with the tough schedule for Chicago.
Yeah, he was one of those guys that I would pick up from time to time last season, at least 2 or 3 times throughout the year that he would end up being on my roster for a week or so. And just keeping an eye on him, like you said, he's got potential, especially with that opportunity on the blue line now with Seth Jones out of there, them kind of trying to restructure things in Chicago. A 23-year-old D-man who can move the puck, who can play that physical aspect, puts his body on the line in front of his goaltenders. Like Alex Vlasic, like some of these Chicago Blackhawks with the 3 games they got upcoming this week. Yep. Ryan Donato, Spencer Knight, Alex Vlasic, Chicago Blackhawks. You got to stay tuned in for them this week.
I like it, Steele. It's a deeper cut, but they're scoring goals. They're playing close games. And, 3 games, but get into it, get a piece of it. More waiver wire targets around the break. And, of course, big-time bets to wrap this bad boy up with some winners. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Wonderful Pistachios. If you're looking for a snack that's both nutritious and delicious, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you keep full longer. You know how I like to snack down on the no-shell variety steel, the perfect grab-and-go snack for busy days. At the desk, my favorite on a roadie, or you just need a quick protein boost. They're always our go-to here on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com today to learn more.
And welcome to the Waiver Wire Monday episode on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, making it your first listen every single day. Thank you so much for all that love and support. We really do appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review for your boys here, Flip Livingstone and Steel Road. And continuing the must-adds for your fantasy hockey upcoming weekly matchup. I've got 2 more players to talk about, and then, of course, we're going to get to big-time bets. 4 games on the schedule for Monday night. Also traded in a pretty good trade before the deadline. Got to talk about Dylan Cozens once again. 29% rostered on Yahoo right now. I didn't check what his percentages was on ESPN, but 51. He's out there. 51. So he's out there on ESPN still. He's definitely most out there on Yahoo right now. Really good debut for Dylan Cozens with the Ottawa Senators, and goes out there, gets 1 point. 1 assist, has a shot on net, but has 9 hits on the night in the 4-3 overtime comeback win over the New York Rangers. And I think
somebody's excited.
Someone is excited, and he realizes his job. He knows what he was brought in to do with this organization. And you can tell the excitement, especially after the game and his post-game interview, about saying, look, I've never been here before. I've never had the chance to fight for a playoff spot. This is new and exciting for me. And I think, again, he realizes why the organization, the front office, Steve Staios brought this player in, was to make sure that it's not just Brady Tkachuk making an impact physically, dropping the gloves, supporting his teammates or standing up for his teammates. Dylan Cozens has that caliber of play. I'm not saying he has to drop the gloves all the time, but he can bring the boom. He can throw the weight around, and he has the potential to score goals still. He can be a contributing factor on the power play offensively, even though he has struggled this season. 4 games for the Ottawa Senators upcoming week, and this is a crucial week for the Senators. 3 of the teams are battling for a wild card spot right now. They go up against the Detroit Red Wings, Philadelphia Flyers, Boston Bruins, and the Toronto Maple Leafs. So all Eastern Conference teams, all teams battling for position in their division or in a wild card spot right now. So it's very important for the Ottawa Senators to come out on top this week if they want a chance to make the postseason.
I think now even more so, you and I got to maybe doing a little Atlantic Division check-in, because things in the Atlantic are about to get really spicy up in here, Steele, and the Toronto Maple Leafs better wake up, because I don't know if you've been seeing what's going on with this Ottawa Senators team, but the juice is flowing through them, and now you got Brady Tkachuk scoring OT winners, pumping up the crowd, and then you look at the Toronto Maple Leafs blowing good opportunities to put points in the win column. I'm not trying to get overhyped here, but when you see Dylan Cozens reinvigorated, this is a very nice piece of work from Steve Staios here, a player that we know has been toiling. He has had a bit of a rough go, I would say, between the ears. I like to say that with the positivity. And now here we go, a whole new set of opportunities for Dylan Cozens here. And you covered it nicely. He's on my list as well. Let me get to another player that I think people are sleeping on right now. And I understand that speaking of between the ears, Jonathan Drouin has a very good opportunity here for himself. 28 points in 31 games. Steele, when he's been in the lineup this year, he's been producing. That's the problem with this guy. He cannot stay in the lineup consistently. But while he is, and I know we both watched that debacle of a Leafs game on Saturday night, look out for this Colorado Avalanche team. We called that a couple of days ago when we saw all these moves. This team is retooled, reloaded, and ready to go. And when Makar and McKinnon go, and then you've got all these other second peripheral pieces, Nichushkin and otherwise, by the way, honorable mention to Nichushkin. If he's out there in your leagues, I wrote this down just in case, 50 in ESPN, 51 in Yahoo. Wake up, people. The Colorado Avalanche also have the Blackhawks, Flames, and Wild this week, followed up by the Stars, but 4 games for Colorado. You want a piece of them. Jonathan Drouin, by the way, Steele, before I put it back to you, second line with Nichushkin and Nelson, centering the top power play unit. 21% on Yahoo, 15 on ESPN, 64 on Fantrax, a little tougher, but he's probably out there in your league. For me, right after Stankoven, in terms of offense, this week, Jonathan Drouin, must add. Colorado, get yourself a piece.
Mentioned him last week on the waiver wire as well. Just one of those guys, and especially after that game last night or a couple days ago against the Toronto Maple Leafs, that second line of Drouin, Brock Nelson, and Valeri Nichushkin, they came out guns a-blazing, absolutely flying on all cylinders. Couple points for Jonathan Drouin, who continues his hot streak and point streak. He's got 12 in his last 9 games right now. So like you said, when he's in the lineup, he plays great. And just to give a little bit of the benefit of the doubt to the Toronto Maple Leafs, that's a tough back-to-back schedule right there against the Vegas Golden Knights and Colorado Avalanche. Again, did not play well. Goaltending was a little shaky from both Wall and Stolarz at points in those 2 games. But like you said as well, they had a chance to secure at least 1 point, maybe 2, when they were up 4-3. And next thing you know, it's 7-4 for the Colorado Avalanche. So a little bit of a debacle in the last 5 to 7 minutes of that game. But my last player before I throw it back over to you, and then we'll get to big-time bets, Utah Hockey Club. I'm not going to call them the Mammoth just yet. I'm going to wait till it's legit, till it's real. But Utah Hockey Club, Nick Schmaltz, I got to mention his name right now. 27% rostered on fantasy hockey leagues. He's playing some really good hockey, 5 points in his last 5 games. He's got 49 on the season in 63 games, shooting the puck a lot right now. Again, you're not going to get a lot of blocks and a lot of hits, but this is an important week again for this Utah Hockey Club, who are still battling. They're still in this race in the Western Conference. I would even say as well, I believe you said this a few days ago, the Anaheim Ducks could still be in that race for, they're 9 points back. But Utah Hockey Club, 4 points back of the Calgary Flames right now for the second wild card spot, 28, 25, 10 on the season. Nick Schmaltz, he's been contributing offensively. Clayton Keller, Logan Cooley, Miguel Sergachev, Karel Vejmelka, who we mentioned as well, is out there, who I wanted to honorable mention him as one of those goaltender options alongside Spencer Knight. But I really like Nick Schmaltz's game. First power play unit, playmaker. He's been playing really well right now, and he's going to need to play well down the stretch. Utah Hockey Club, 4 games on the schedule. Toronto Maple Leafs, Anaheim Ducks, Seattle Kraken, and the Vancouver Canucks. 4 games. I actually really like the schedule, even though the Ducks are playing well. Leafs are struggling right now. So good week to stream some Utah Hockey Club players.
That sounds like a decent schedule, and honestly, Steele, it sounds like a good spot for this team to rack up some goals. In terms of overall output, they're outside the top half, but on the power play, so this might be one of those kind of smaller angles to capitalize on if you're in one of those cat leagues with power play points. Utah Hockey Club tied for the 11th best power play unit in the league, right there with the Washington Capitals. So this team can score on the man advantage. That's one of those deeper cuts you got to dive into right now at this point of the season. Repeat, rinse, get in there, get on the waiver wire, get active. Very quickly before we get to bet steal, and these are players that have much higher ownership, and you and I have talked about at length, so there was no preamble here. Jackson Lacombe, you've heard it before. Jackson Lacombe, get out there and get him. Also, I looked at this. Matt Nyes is on fire. He's playing sensational. He's in the top 6 with the Leafs, and he's still like 60 and 58% in a couple of formats. I know most places he's going to be owned. Matt Nyes catches honorable mention. And, of course, I believe he's like 70 or 80 across the board. I don't know if you saw that sauce pass to Hyman. Edmonton Oilers got themselves a good offensive piece in Jake Wallman. Let's see how that shakes out. If he's out there, that's an auto ad for me too. Just honorable mention those, Steele, because they probably aren't out there, and we've talked about them at length. Over to you, my friend.
Those are the must ads for this upcoming week. Playoffs, we've been saying it, right around the corner, but what's also around the corner, big time bets, that's coming up next. This episode is also brought to you by Factor. Are you looking to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor makes eating well easy with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals that are fresh, never frozen, and ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences every week, You can customize your meals to fit your lifestyle, whether it's Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Plus, Factor even offers wholesome smoothies, breakfast, and grab-and-go snacks to keep you fueled all day long. I love especially how Factor takes the stress out of meal planning. I started trying their Protein Plus meals, and they were packed with flavor and kept me full throughout the day. I didn't have to create any of the mess or make it myself. That's what I love about Factor. The convenience is unbeatable. No prep, no mess, just great food in minutes. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL50 off and use code LockedOnNHL50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code LockedOnNHL50 off at factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. And thank you so much for staying tuned in to the Monday episode, Waiver Wire Targets. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen. Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning is when you can find our episodes. Flip 4 games on the schedule. I really like these matchups to start off the week. You got the Toronto Maple Leafs taking on the Utah Hockey Club, the abysmal Buffalo Sabres taking on the Edmonton Oilers. Some really good games on Monday night. Where are you looking first?
First and foremost, Edmonton Oilers on the road into Buffalo. This one might as well be as free money can be, and I don't even care if I get cooked here. The Edmonton Oilers, I think, are now primed, and I know it's 2 games, and it's 2 one-goal games that could have easily gone the other way. Montreal is a great team right now. Dallas is one of the best teams in the NHL, and I know they almost blew it to Dallas. However, 2 wins are 2 big wins, so I think this is a springboard to a big-time heater for the Oilers. Actually, they've scored 11 goals over their last 2 games against the Buffalo Sabres as well. 2-0-1 in their last 3 points in 3 straight games. You know what it is. Oilers money line. That's my first pick steal. And I'm really feeling all 3 picks tonight, though. So I think it's hammer time. Mute's got you, pal. Once a week, baby.
Once a week, always happens. I really like the money lines as well. These are some really good options. Edmonton, Colorado, Toronto. I actually went a different route, taking a different angle here. And I'm going with 3 player props. And I actually might throw in a 4th player prop in there. And you know what I'm going with. I'm running it back, going to the well here. 2+ point player props from 3 top dogs in the National Hockey League. First player, Austin Matthews, 2+ points against the Utah Hockey Club. I think this is a good opportunity for Austin Matthews to really start shooting and hitting the back of the net. Regardless of him not scoring as much, he's playmaking. He's passing the puck, and he's got a 13-game point streak right now, with most of them being assists. He's coming off a 3-assist night in that 7-4 loss to the Colorado Avalanche. So if he's not scoring, he's facilitating. He's playmaking. He's creating opportunities for his line mates from behind the net, from below the goal line. I like what I'm seeing from him without actually putting the puck in the net. I think he will, though. 2+ points from Austin Matthews. To go with your money line pick with the Oilers, 2+ points. Connor McDavid has to happen. He's on a 3-game multi-point streak. He's on a 7+ point streak right now as well. Connor McDavid, 2+ points. Austin Matthews, 2+ points. Over to you, my friend.
I implore you, if you are listening to this episode, Steele, to go, or still, not Steele. I know you're listening, Steele. If you're still listening to this episode, good idea, by the way. Go out there and check yourself out, that McDavid goal. My goodness me. That was one of the more special goals that I've seen in a while, and that's just all speed. That play does not even happen if you're any other player on this planet other than maybe Nathan McKinnon. It's not even close, and it's special. And I think when you start to see that kind of thing happen, Steele, and you have the Edmonton Oilers on your schedule over the next couple of weeks, you're taking a deep breath if you're a blue liner, because you might as well just kind of do one of these and hope for the best. Hope maybe your stick catches the puck. Special. I love it. I'm adding that to my Oilers money line. Speaking of special, the vibes are very real with this Ottawa Senators team right now, Steele. And as much as that really pains me to say, you and I have been on this team for a while now. So maybe just like we've been predicting the downfall of the Bruins, maybe this is the year that the Ottawa Senators finally make us look good. 7-2-1, the Ottawa Senators over their last 10 games against the Detroit Red Wings. And when you got the captain, Brady Tkachuk, playing with that kind of energy, 2 big back-to-back wins here, 4-3 fashion, and I know one of them was Chicago. Give me the Sens at home on the money line. That's not my lock of the night, though. My lock of the night, there's no value in the Colorado Avalanche at home against the Chicago Blackhawks. We just talked about the Blackhawks as well, so I could see this one being a barn burner, a high-scoring game, just like the Leafs and Avs on Saturday. However, I'm going to go to one of my favorite picks over the last little while, and a guy that has 11 assists in his last 5 games, Cale Makar, anytime assist. Lock that one in as my lock of the night. The guy is special. He's on a heater. The team's playing amazing still. Look out for these Colorado Avalanche.
And he's not even the best Colorado Avalanche, which is crazy to say.
Yeah.
Nathan MacKinnon is unbelievable. First player this year to hit 100+ years, 3 seasons in a row. He's done that now. That is my lock of the night. Nathan MacKinnon, 2+ points. He's on a 5-game point streak. He's got 13 points in his last 5 games. He is just doing it all right now in Colorado. And just as an honorable mention, because there's 4 games and I want a player prop from each game, Brady Tkachuk, 2+ points in that game against Detroit. He's on a 5-game point streak as well. I love all 4 of these picks. I love your picks as well. The Oilers, the Senators on the money line, the Cale Makar anytime assist. This is one of those nights where I'm really confident in all of our picks, especially on one of these less than 6-game boards.
Yeah. I think those are the nights that you and I have actually probably won those
made our most money
increment bets. So let's have it. Also, yesterday, our Saturday 10 leg parlay didn't turn out so well. So we're going to have to bounce back maybe with next Saturday's big parlay. But we're here all week, baby. Back to regular time, 7:30 or 7 a.m. in the morning. Steele, remind them, and we'll see you all week.
Say it, 7 a.m. in the morning, Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock is when you can find our episodes. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod with Flip Livingstone and Theo Rodent your first listen every single day. We appreciate it. We love you out there. For your second listen, make sure you check out the Locked On NHL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. From your boys here, we wish you good luck with your bets. Good luck with those weekly matchups. Make sure you get into the playoffs there, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.